5 central figures and of the Baha'i Faith and the world center in that prophecy, that little 2-verse prophecy. 7 times. We're running through this kind of quickly. I might jump down to the Ancient of Days, because that's the one about the 10 horns and the 3 horns and the 1 horn. I want to get into ones that aren't mainstream, and just suggest and see if you agree, and then we can write off and try to get it approved. Okay, this prophecy begins, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. For the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this." And like I say, this is a prophecy that the Christians own. They have claimed as their own. But then I asked them, well, right, and I said, well, you know, just the names here. Was he Mighty God, the Everlasting Father? I thought he was the Son. Was he a prince? Did he bring peace? Where's the government that he brought? Again, that's usually a short conversation. But these are, you know, okay. I mean, Jesus does fulfill part of this prophecy. But let's see how the Baha'i Faith fits into this prophecy, if you don't mind. And follow along with me and tell me if you think I'm onto something, or you should open the window and ask me to walk out. So this prophecy begins, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given." What's the first thing you notice about this line of this verse?
The son is given.
Son is given, yes. That's what Jesus say, the Christians say that Jesus was given. The Son, focus on that. What's the first thing you notice?
To me, the first thing that comes to my mind is a new beginning.
Yes. You said 4.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed.
Smart. And if you go a little bit farther, what's the second point? For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. What I see is references being made to 2 divine beings, not just 1. And my friends will say, well, of course, you know, it's just God is repeating himself. Why does God repeat himself? Why would he do that? I mean, well, I know that Moses had some sort of speech impediment, but this is one of those times. But the obvious interpretation of this verse is that a child will be born, and he will give us his son. The Father and the Son will appear together. That's the obvious interpretation. Christians will make this connection that the 2 refer to the same, but we don't have to make that connection. We can say, well, look, there's obviously that a child will be born, he will give us his son. So the child is born is who? He walk among us. He walked amongst us. And he will give us his son, Abdu'l-Baha. And there was never a greater gift to mankind than the gift of Baha'u'llah, of Abdul, his son. Abdu'l-Baha, his son. Abdu'l-Baha, I cannot express enough the high station of Abdu'l-Baha. I mean, he's the son of Baha'u'llah. What could be higher than that? Baha'u'llah is the supreme manifestation of God. The Bab declared his mission. Same night Abdu'l-Baha was born. It was that important to the Bab that he declared his mission when God's greatest gift to mankind was born. Okay, the next verse says, "And the government shall be upon his shoulder." In a sense, in a real sense, now it doesn't say whose government, whether it's the government or the government that's going to be the divine government. But the government, the Roman government, was upon the shoulder of Jesus when he carried his cross during the crucifixion march. Now, there's also a corollary in the Baha'i Faith to this. When Baha'u'llah was in the Sea of Chal, the underground pestilential dungeon that the Shah of Iran threw Baha'u'llah into, and he put a 100-pound chain around his neck and his shoulders in that horrid place for 4 months. So this was repeated in the Baha'i history. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. What's the first thing you notice about this part of the passage? Full name? What's the first thing you notice?
And.
Next line.
Name shall be called.
Next line.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the first thing you notice is wonderful. How many of you, when you're telling your friends about Baha'u'llah, say, he's wonderful? Can't believe how wonderful. None of you? Well, that's what his name is. I mean, when you go, wonderful means something really great. It's not like, having your teeth pulled without anesthesia. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, I mean, it's great. Well, you should be happy. You should be excited. So these are the titles of the Lord of hosts. Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God. Now you see this in the Bible a lot, the Mighty God, in other prophecies. The Everlasting Father, again, Christ was the Son. He never claimed to be the Father, but Baha'u'llah repeatedly has claimed to be the Father. And he was a prince. He was an actual prince in the court of the Shah, and he brought teachings to unite the world and a government to establish peace forever. All right, so let's talk about his government. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. What is this a reference to? Baha'is.
It lasts for thousands and thousands of years.
Yes, but we'll get to that one. No, this verse says, of the increase of his government. What is the government that's being referred to here?
Universal House of Justice.
I'm here in Universal House of Justice.
Well, I wonder what his relationship would be to the United Nations.
Right, the United Nations, Shoghi Effendi said, was the dawn of the most great peace, the opportunity for humans, for mankind to begin to govern itself in a world federated way. But the government that Baha'u'llah has brought has as its head the House of Justice, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I should move on to the next one, right? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Really? So the government of Baha'u'llah is House of Justice, right?
So would that mean that the House of Justice is ever increasing?
Right. Yeah. You've seen there's been a increase in the number of committees and appointments and things like that. Okay. Before I go on, now remember, Baha'u'llah ordained the House of Justice, but he didn't say how to elect it. That was done in Abdu'l-Baha's will and testament. So Abdu'l-Baha, that's why I say his station is so high, because he carried out the words of Baha'u'llah. He interpreted them, he fulfilled them, he filled them out even more, and in his will and testament he also established the guardian. Lest we forget our beloved guardian, is the second half, is the twin pillar of the Baha'i, as the world order of Baha'u'llah is upheld by the twin pillars of the House of Justice and the guardian. And we were so very fortunate to have Shoghi Effendi as the guardian. His tireless efforts to build up the Baha'i administrative order so that we might be able to elect the House of Justice. And, it's really daunting when you think about it. And we play a role. We elect, individuals elect our delegates, who elect the National Assembly members, who are the electors of the House of Justice. And I want to speak a moment about the House of Justice because the House of Justice is promised by Baha'u'llah that he will guide them. And Baha'u'llah says, whenever the members of the House of Justice meet, whatever they decide will not be their own doing. That it will be Baha'u'llah doing it for them. That they'll be so detached. Yes?
It's interesting, the zeal of the Lord will perform this, because zeal is Shoghi.
Yeah.
Shoghi is zeal, so he was the one who did the administrative order.
Right, he's the one, his tireless efforts, his zeal built up the Baha'i administrative order. And the House of Justice is the supreme administrative body. It's infallible. It's not omniscient like like Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha, where they can look into the souls of people and know who they were and foretell future events. but it is infallible and guided by Baha'u'llah. And it is the supreme administrative body, which means that every other administrative body is what? Yeah, not supreme, or lesser. The lesser institutions like the, what do we call them? The national spiritual assemblies, the local spiritual assemblies. Counselors, of course, are the appointed branch. They don't have any authority. The authority rests in the institutions of the assemblies, the spiritual assemblies. So what is the goal of the spiritual assemblies? Not how do they carry out what they want to do, but what is their goal? Why are they called spiritual assemblies? Is Baha'u'llah ordained spiritual assemblies? He ordained houses of justice, right? So there'll be a local and a national house of justice. Right now they're called spiritual assemblies. Why? Ah. Any assembly members here? Let me hear you say that. Yes, their goal is to evolve into houses of justice and to mirror the universal house of justice. So that, and what is the guiding principle of the house of justice is that it is not their doing. The members meet, it is not their doing. So when the goal of the assemblies should be to mirror that. They merge their will with the will of God. So they don't get in and say, I think this is what we ought to do. They say, they pray and pray and pray until it's revealed to them what to do. And we're still working for that. That's why it's called the formative era, right? And we don't know how long that formative era is, but we do know that we crossed another epoch a few years ago, which proves to me that, in spite of the Baha'is, the faith is moving along. Please don't shoot me. Okay, now this goes on to say, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom. And I'll say to my Christian friends, the capital of Christianity is not in Israel, it's in Rome. It's not the throne of David. David was never in Rome. But the Baha'i Faith, the kingdom of David was where?
Israel.
The Israelite kingdom. Okay. And the throne of David is Jerusalem, right? But this is Mount Carmel. The Baha'i World Center is in Mount Carmel. So, can we make a connection there? How do we make that connection? We're getting close. In the book of Revelation, do you remember the Music of the World Congress, where they had all the beginning, the music, and they get one prophecy from Revelation, and I, John, saw the holy city. What's it called?
New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem. Okay, so New Jerusalem is Mount Carmel. There's some that's good. That's okay. That's one connection we can make. Now, let's try to make another one. What do they call Haifa when you're in Haifa? Holy Land? They do? And they're so impressed by when we were building the terraces that Arabs, Muslims, Jews, and Christians and Baha'is were all working together. What did you call it?
Cave of Elijah.
Cave of Elijah. They also called Haifa the city of, everybody's working together in peace and harmony. They call it the city of peace. Did you know that? You should know that. They call Haifa, even the Israelis, they call Haifa the city of peace. They all work together in such peace and harmony that they call Haifa the city of peace. 7. Does anybody know what Jerusalem means? Let me give you a hint. Jerusalem. It means the city of peace. So Haifa, the city of peace, is New Jerusalem. There we have the Baha'i World Center foretold. This is what I see in this prophecy. To order it and to establish it. Baha'u'llah ordained the house of justice, but as I mentioned, it was Abdu'l-Baha who ordained guardianship. And with judgment and with justice. Now this is another thing that we need to remember at all times. Judgment and justice. In the past, the teaching of Christ was forgiveness. And forgive everything. Turn the other cheek. Let himself be crucified on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But now is the time, the advent of divine justice and judgment. Who is going to be judged? People? Poor people? Everyone?
Nations.
Nations. Yeah, how about nations? Isn't it the nations' turn to be judged? Aren't they the ones who are downtrodden all the poor people? And with justice. That's what I mean. Justice is not something that we can administer as individuals, but something that God can administer. And this is why the teachings of detachment are so important. Because the moment we get in there on an assembly and say, you know, I don't like this person, I think this is what we should do, we are, I don't know what we're doing, tell me what we're doing. I want to get myself in trouble. From henceforth, even forever, I've heard it said that Baha'u'llah promises to send another messenger every 1,000 years for the next 500,000 years. That's pretty much forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts, thank you so much. Shoghi Effendi's tireless effort is what built up the Baha'i administrative order. Here he is, Shoghi Effendi. Somebody asked Shoghi Effendi, because Shoghi means the one who yearns, the one with zeal. And I read a pilgrim note that somebody asked the Guardian, are you the Lord, the zeal of the Lord of hosts? And his answer was interesting, because he said, Shoghi does not mean zeal. But that wasn't the question. The question was, are you the zeal of the Lord of hosts? And so he didn't really answer. So there you have the 5 central figures. Am I missing one?